I'm the Congresswoman for the Bronx and Queens. I represent a community that has some of the highest childhood asthma rates in the United States. And when we hear this conversation about how regulations threaten economic prosperity, and I jotted it down earlier because I couldn't even believe that I heard it, that economic prosperity, quote, is the #1 driver of clean air and clean water, as though our rivers were somehow, I mean, our rivers and forests were clean and unpolluted before a single factory was constructed in this country. That is the state of nature. I want us to be clear about that. Now, when we hear people use this term economic prosperity, I want folks to know at home what that is a shadow screen for is a term otherwise known as profit. Wall Street profit, very often. And Administrator Regan, you've been accused of sabotaging here the economic prosperity of this country for enforcing and introducing regulations about chemicals that this committee itself has investigated, such as PFAS. I'd like for us to dig into that a little bit. PFAS is a chemical byproduct of, and it's a chemical that's in almost everything. Teflon pans, workout gear, fire extinguisher foam. What are some of the health consequences that we have seen as a result of elevated levels of PFAS for everyday Americans?
Well, you know, they range from various types of cancers, death. These carcinogenic elements are wreaking havoc on communities all across the country.
We've had people from PFAS affected, especially PFAS affected communities, that have had fertility issues. Is that correct?
Yes.
Testicular cancer.
Yes.
Is that correct? Developmental delays in children. Is that consistent with what you've seen?
Yes.
Thyroid issues, increased risk of cancer, correct?
Yes.
And those people, those kids, those parents who are struggling to conceive now, that's who we respond to. That's who we answer to. Correct, Administrator Regan?
Absolutely.
The American people. Now, I want to name something. This isn't just economic prosperity. There are people and organizations and companies responsible for this. DuPont and 3M are two of the largest corporations that were responsible for PFAS dumping in the United States. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did they know that these chemicals were potentially toxic? Is that correct?
We believe they did.
And yet, there are members here of this committee that want to defend the quote-unquote economic right for a company to poison its people, the American people. Now, when we talk about economic prosperity, if you're a kid in the South Bronx, if you are a mom in rural Pennsylvania near a PFAS dumping site, who comes ahead when you get cancer and have a medical bill to pay? Who comes out ahead from that PFAS dumping? The CEO of DuPont or that mom? So when we talk about the bills and the prosperity that gets made from here and who has to pay that, we need to understand a very simple economic concept called externalities. Externalities. The costs of pollution, the cost of poisoning that are not factored into the profit margin of the corporation that's actually wreaking havoc on this planet. And when we talk about issues like climate change, it is at its core an issue of externalities. Because ExxonMobil and all of these oil companies can afford to burn this planet to a crisp because it makes them a pile of money. Now, Administrator Regan, I want to thank you because in the character attacks that you have experienced in this hearing, I know that you have spent your entire time and your entire federal
Thank you.
service
Your time is up. I
protecting
appreciate
families
it
from
this
being
morning.
poisoned.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.